Today on the Retro Hunting Adventures, we'll be looking at 6 Super Famicom games that I just picked up in the mail for approximately $6. About $1 a piece, give or take, before shipping. Some $1.04, some $1.15, some $1.02, pretty much $1 each. So stay tuned and we'll take a look at all of these games after some opening words from MegaManFan.
Yo, this is MegaManFan, and you need to rock and or roll on over to Mr. MegaManFan's YouTube channel, because it's all that rush to make it happen. Peace!
First up on the list today is Kirby Bowl, better known to those of you in North America as Kirby's Dream Course. This is miniature golf, but Kirby himself is the golf ball, and all of the enemies from the Kirby games are the targets on the course that you have to hit before you can unlock the hole. The last enemy you haven't hit is the hole that you drop into to finish the hole. If you're a fan of the Kirby games, there's 2 reasons you should absolutely consider importing this. The first is that it's ridiculously cheaper if you get it from Japan. $1, even with $17 shipping, which is the standard flat rate you start at from a reseller like Japan for you, and then they tack on like 29 cents per each additional cartridge after that. So you can get it to around $20-21 if you order a bunch of stuff. So even at that price, even if you only ordered 1 cartridge, $1 plus $17, that'd be $18. The loose cartridge in North America for Kirby's Dream Course goes for $33. So even if you ordered nothing else, you'd save $15. Second reason to get it, it's a stupidly fun game. There's no knowledge of Japanese required to play Kirby's Dream Course. You're just aiming Kirby at the targets and shooting your way around the course until you complete it. And some of the enemies you hit will give you copy abilities, just like if you had inhaled them and swallowed them in a normal Kirby game. My favorite is always the stone, because if you're anywhere near the hole and you hit the stone, you can come down like a stone and drop right into the hole. This is also a really excellent game for head-to-head play. To see more of that, I recommend the Game Grumps. I'm sure Ryan Taylor would if I didn't, because when Aaron and Dan are playing this against each other, they get pretty savage. It's funny, but man, they're competitive as all get out when it comes to playing Kirby's Dream Course. And a bunch of the viewers, or the lovelies as they call them, sent in custom courses made on a special Kirby's Dream Course ROM for them to play. I think they've even gotten a physical version of it if I remember correctly, so this is one I can highly recommend. Kirby's Dream Course is a ton of fun. Next up is Dodge Denpai, or Denpai. I guess I don't really know which, and I apologize for that. This is based on a manga that ran from the late 1980s to the mid-1990s, which also got an anime adaptation in the early 1990s that ran for 47 episodes. You might have guessed from the name Dodge that this is a dodgeball game, and you'd be correct about that. So if you've played any of the Kunio-kun dodgeball games or the Super Deformed Gundam games, it's the same. It's dodgeball, just with a different set of characters that comes from this anime and manga. This one seems to be a little plot driven at the beginning. When I first try to start up a game, it gives me a big long cutscene where I'm introduced to all the different characters who I assumed are my teammates and or possibly a rival who is being really mean to me. If I'd read the manga or seen the anime, I would probably know who they all are, but I admit I haven't, so I don't. But I'll probably find a patch for it at romhacking.net. Once I dump this cart and apply the patch, I'll be able to figure out who all of these people are. And I'm fairly confident that at that point, playing this game will be a breeze, because it's just dodgeball. You catch the ball, you throw the ball. You knock out your opponents, they knock you out. You fire trick shots or power shots or any other kind of things you want, but at the end of the day, it's dodgeball. Never one of my favorite games when I was in elementary school, because those rubber balls really stung if you got somebody who had a good arm and could whip it really hard. So not fun if you had your back turned and somebody whipped a dodgeball at you. If you've never felt that sting on your skin, let me tell you, you don't want to. It wasn't optional though. It was part of gym class. You didn't get to sit it out or choose not to do it. If they said, dodgeball, everybody take a side, you had to do it. No choice. So anyway, I'd rather play the video game version of dodgeball than the real thing any day of the week, and this seems like a fine adaptation of dodgeball. Nothing wrong with this one. Next up, we have Battle Robot Retsuden, which was one of the more expensive games that I picked up, and by expensive, I mean $1.15. So not really expensive at all. 15 cents over a buck still basically feels like a buck. Try buying any sandwich that's on a dollar menu, and you're still going to pay anywhere from 7 to 15 cents tax. So there's no such thing as buying something for just a buck. Unless maybe you're at a dollar store where they already factored in the tax, and then it comes up to exactly $1 even. This is even more text heavy than Dodge Denpai was, but it's pretty obvious once you get through the cutscenes that this is one of those turn-based strategy games where you move over a hexagonal grid and the opponent moves over the hexagonal grid to within distance of attacking you or vice versa, and then you choose from a variety of attacks. It's a tactics game, like Final Fantasy Tactics or Tactics Ogre. It's those kind of games, and if you're into that, I'm sure it's great, but I'm probably not going to invest a whole lot of time in this until I dump it with my jailbroken analog and apply a ROM hacking patch so I can understand which options I'm selecting from the menu and do the best attacks in each scenario. I can fuddle and muddle my way through it, but I would rather really know what I'm doing than just guessing on each turn. So this is an interesting one that I will be coming back to later on. This next one is called GD Lean, or maybe it's God Lean. I don't know if you're supposed to actually pronounce it or not. Maybe you're supposed to spell it out, but it's actually spelled that way in English, so I'm assuming that is a literal translation of some sort. And this is the first role-playing game out of the 6 that I picked up in this order. And so, if you thought either of the previous ones had Japanese text, well, let me lay it on you right now. This one takes the cake. It's got the most of anything I picked up. So it's not even optional. I have to dump this and patch it, or I'm not going to be making much progress. I did manage to explore it a little bit for the purposes of this video, and it looks like I'm in some sort of futuristic world where, of course, there are random monsters making life hell for the people who live there, because it didn't take long walking around before I got into a random battle. It appears to be based on a light sci-fi novel that came out in 1989, which also got adapted into an OVA in 1990, so there's a small amount of cultural cachet to it. It didn't come whole cloth straight from nothing and become a video game. There was a precedent to it in the pop culture of Japan, so perhaps there's some way to get a hold of that original OVA and watch it and maybe learn a little more about GD Lean. But if you search GD Lean, the first thing that comes up in Google before the Wikipedia entry is GD Lean English translation. So it seems that a lot of people were looking for this as a patch even before I made this video, which makes me strongly suspect one already exists. And based on the size and strength of the Dragon Ball fandom, I have no doubt whatsoever that there is already a patch for Dragon Ball Z. Shout out to Geekdom 101, aka Danny, aka Big D, because he kind of talked me into picking up some more Dragon Ball games from Japan. So without question, I will be dumping this one, patching it, and giving it a much more thorough playthrough. But even without that, it turned out to be very easy to get into very fast, because it's not a role-playing game, it's not a turn-based strategy game, it's a fighting game. So you're controlling the characters from the Dragon Ball universe in one-on-one battles against each other. So if you've played any Mortal Kombat game, Street Fighter game, you're going to know what you're doing, even if you don't know what you're doing, if you know what I mean by that. Like, I don't know all the combos, but I can surely look them up. and I can kind of fake my way through it without knowing the combos by just mashing the buttons, which tends to work in a lot of fighter games, sadly. If you're not playing at a pro tournament level, sometimes that's all you need. If you're playing by yourself against an AI opponent, you can mash buttons in a lot of these games. And then once you've figured it out and know actual combos you want to do, you don't have to mash buttons anymore. So Dragon Ball Z is one that I can recommend importing even without patching it, because like Kirby Bowl, aka Kirby's Dream Course, this one doesn't need the English patch, it's just a bonus if you do it. Finally, on today's video, we have a game from Enix. Yes, before there was Square Enix, there was Square and there was Enix. They were two completely separate entities, but they both had a common purpose, making JRPGs. Or they just would have been RPGs in Japan. Calling them JRPGs is entirely an American and probably a European invention as well. But this is one of those. It's called Wonder Project J, and all I can say from this opening sequence is, oh my god, why did that kid kick the dog? And then the dog gets mad, barks at him, and starts chasing him. I'm like, good, you deserve it for kicking a dog, you stupid kid. But I guess he's supposed to be our protagonist in Wonder Project J. Now, Ryan has already chastised me for admitting in an unboxing video that I ordered Wonder Project J2 for N64, and due to the pandemic, I never got it. So, in theory, I would have had Wonder Project J2 before Wonder Project J. The only thing I can say in defense of purchasing them out of order was that I was very heavily collecting for N64 at the time, and Wonder Project J2 was highly recommended as a Japanese Nintendo 64 game worth importing. I'm sure Wonder Project J is highly recommended as well, but I'm a little befuddled by the menus here. It's not like traditional role-playing games. It's more like a point-and-click game, so maybe more like a PC game, like a King's Quest kind of game. And I'm going to need to patch it and or look up some instructions online to get further. But it's a fascinating game all the same. I'm Mr. MegaManFan. Thanks for watching.